we join this Ramble video with the Mountain Dew already in progress. Anyways, how have you all been? It's been a while since I've done a Ramble video. It's actually been a while since I've done a video at all that hasn't been based on footage that I filmed a long time ago because I've been quite sick. And I don't think I could have held it together for an entire video without having a coughing fit in the middle of one. I think I might have the same thing that Itchiro had. And it takes a long time to get over this thing. It's like the flu. Your bones hurt. Like from the cold, your bones hurt, and it's the cold part of the year. And then when the crud gets in your lungs, you can't cough it up for anything. To save your life, you cannot cough this stuff out of your lungs. And finally, my lungs are starting to feel normal. So, I don't know what you all have been doing as far as what you're listening to when you're playing World of Warcraft without me. Maybe you found a podcast, I don't know. I could recommend a few, but let's get to the point of this Ramble video. First, this is actually a response to Inventor Gorilla. And he tries very hard to get responses out of me, and he wasn't expecting one for this in particular video that he made. But this one is, your 2012 in review video sucked, by Inventor Gorilla. Or sucks if you go by the title bar in the actual video. The title of the video and the title bar should match, in my aesthetic opinion. Okay? But, anyways, he made other videos which, I could just respond to with a comment. But this one, he's talking about goal setting. And I just so happen to know a little bit about that. Why? Well, because it was part of finishing my degree. Now, setting goals is good, and I actually think that we should see a rash of New Year's resolution videos, kind of like this, only, they'll actually say New Year's resolution rather than being attacking other people's videos. But also, we should see a whole bunch of year in review videos. And this is part of the process of goal setting, is taking stock of what you've done in the past. Now, Ichiro Cannot Die has a great video. I'm just going to put a like on it right now. It's called Atheism in 2013. And it's basically the antithesis to Inventor Gorilla's video. In that he's saying why he reviews his work in the past, and how it shows him how he has evolved, and it's a very good tool for him. And then he can, decide if he's on course, if all of atheism is on course, and he, like myself and a few other people, do think that movement atheism is a little bit off course. It is. And with it growing as fast as it is, I'm not surprised. But, I don't know, off course or away from purist intentions. Either way, if you watch Inventor Gorilla's video and then watch Ichiro Cannot Die's video, you'll see Inventor Gorilla has it half right, but Ichiro really has the healthier response to all of this nostalgia that people have about past years. Next, I want to talk about, speaking of atheism being off course, I want to talk about Thunderfoot. First, I think I should point out that, yes, in his latest video that drummed up a little bit more drama from his feud with PZ Myers and the Skeptics and the Atheism Plus crowd, he used some footage from a video that I filmed of PZ Myers, and this was at the AAA convention, the Atheist Alliance of America, and you can see the banner in the back of that video footage. I was the only person to have that footage on YouTube. I got permission from Nick Lee, the then president of Atheist Alliance of America, and got I have permission from the new president, Chuck. They're putting out their DVD, of this entire event, and I'm putting links pointing to that DVD, and I say this because I know that he used those clips in fair use. Okay, there's no claim that I have to this. I wasn't even the person talking. I just filmed it myself and put it on my YouTube channel with permission from the hosts of the event. But in using this clip, fair use style, what irks me is that Thunderfoot did not give any sort of citation as to where he got the footage. Okay? Didn't have to for it to be fair use, but it would have been nice. Okay? There's that glass ceiling of the old guard of YouTube, where if you didn't get in the beginning, you're just never going to get that many subscribers or video views. It's very, very hard to break through that, especially with YouTube making all of these layout changes and stuff. But basically, he used the clip of footage that I took, and I work hard to go out and get action shots and go get these conventions filmed. I've filmed skeptic camps. I've filmed conventions and put them up on YouTube for people to watch, And to have someone just take that footage and pass it off as his own, no citation whatsoever, and no link to where you can find the original so that people can find the whole context of what was being said. It's I don't work that hard just to prop up a Thunderfoot video, okay? That's not why I'm doing this. Now, that being said, some people would have wanted to see the entire context of that clip that he took from PZ Myers. Probably because they're looking to pwn Thunderfoot and say, well, he took him out of context. Thunderfoot's point, I say, it stands. He did not take PZ out of context. That was PZ Myers redefining atheism. Okay, and then the very next slide was, feminism, the radical notion that women are people, and it really was all about Atheism Plus. Towards the end of that talk, he has the Atheism Plus logo up on the wall, and he's talking about it and how he's so happy that things like that are happening. And it's not just the context of PZ Myers' talk. Thunderfoot was correct in the context of the entire convention. The Atheist Alliance of America fucking convention. Okay. Greta Christina was there. The Godless Bitches were there. Matt Dillahunty. Tony Penn mentioned Atheism Plus. There were a couple others. The guy from Atheist Nexus. All of these people mentioned Atheism Plus in a very positive light. It actually felt like on the day that all of these speakers spoke like in a block, that that was the day that everyone who was part of the Atheism Plus forums had bought a ticket for just that day, and they were all front row reserved. And that was the day that I asked my question of Greta Christina, and her answer about Atheism Plus was that they weren't trying to change the definition of atheism, they were just trying to add to it. And I took that clip and I put it up on YouTube, and it got thousands of views. And of course, they call YouTube comment sections hell. And my feeling about that is that if you don't like criticism, then YouTube comment sections are going to be hell. But really, not so much, in my opinion. You know, I only have almost 500,000 views on my videos, and really I don't see the same sort of hell that they get. But I'm not trying to introduce ideas that are going to get a lot of criticism on the same grounds that they will, such as there are people who like to have their atheism and their progressive liberal values be separate. You know, there are people such as me, myself, who don't care if you have some other sort of political leaning when we're talking about science. You know, being sold a bag of goods by the Atheism Plus crowd of, well, these are things that you already believe. You know, these are stances that you've already come to anyway. Why would you object to us, inserting them wherever possible? You know, whenever there's an atheism convention, we should be able to insert feminism and insert all these other isms. You know, why are you getting in our way? You know, well, it's because that's not the purpose of the convention. And I think that there's hangers on for every movement, and I'm pretty sure during the civil rights movement there were black civil rights leaders that were probably asked the question, well, why aren't you allowing people to talk about feminism and gay rights and a whole bunch of other stuff? And it's because, frankly, you're trying hard enough just to sell atheism as being something that can be acceptable to the general public. And then, once you get all of this momentum behind making atheism acceptable, a whole bunch of other things want to, tag along and try to get shoehorned in with it. And it's like a whole bunch of people trying to go through the same doorway at the exact same time. Sorry, but it's a lot easier to get accepted one movement at a time. And I've noticed that Thunderfoot has had a lot of blowback on YouTube for having the opinion that he did that feminism, which, see, I watched a video by Coughlin, and I'm subscribed to Coughlin, watch most of his stuff, and Coughlin didn't get why Thunderfoot had feminism in quotations. And there are a lot of people who draw a distinction between feminism and what gets put forth by Skepchick. And I'd say that Coughlin's video, just look at how Thunderfoot put feminism in quotations in the title of this video. Look at the description of Thunderfoot's video, and I think that's a pretty good answer to Coughlin's rant. I've seen Lasoyo's video, Rational Roundtable's video. Sometimes it is the case where somebody has a very valid point, but they're not the best person to be making that point. And Thunderfoot now has baggage. And every time he makes a point, be it good or bad, Thunderfoot's point will have to have every other piece of baggage that he has with him addressed. Okay? Same thing with Napalm's video. Now, Napalm made some concessions to Thunderfoot at the same point where I'm agreeing with Thunderfoot. But also, Napalm was bringing up things that had nothing to do with Thunderfoot's point, going back to Thunderfoot's history. Now, if you don't see that there is a certain taboo now within the atheist community that if you don't hold to liberal leanings, you're going to get more flack, that's fine. I see it. I've had a discussion with the Skeptical Heretic where he does not see it because he and Rob, Cardinal Virtues, they both have had some conservative stances and haven't had much blowback. I'd say that we're talking about the outliers there, but every time I've even come close to espousing something that could be critical of being liberal, I've had some blowback, and most recently it was a comment from Wildwood Claire telling me, in light of everything that the Republicans have been doing, that you would give them the benefit of the doubt in this one moment. You are completely worthy of derision and ridicule. I'm like, no. I believe that every different claim that Republicans are committing voter fraud needs to be examined on its own, not just taken for granted that, oh yeah, the Republicans are just at it again. And, wow. Gotta love that I title these things Rambles, because I can even lose my own point here. But politically, right now, it's not the wise thing to admit that Thunderfoot has made a good point. Now, Napalm did in the middle of a very long 30-minute video, but he also, was piling on all of the reasons why Thunderfoot is wrong in other areas. But as far as seeing that the feminism thing, the liberal feminist movement that does not like criticism of itself. That's the in quotes feminism, okay? The feminists who like to make a forum where anybody who disagrees with them is not allowed in the safe place forum, because they don't like criticism in their safe place forum. Those quote feminists, are they're at a lot of conventions, you know, and maybe we need more stars, you know, because they have taken up a lot of these convention seats, and they seem to go around in a block. You know, you get one of them, you get a lot of them that follow, and we've got the same skeptic feminists going around to these things that are the conventions that are the largest ones. It's like they're on a carny circuit, you know. It does rather remind me of like traveling professional wrestling troops and carnivals. That it's the same stars at each convention, and you know, if you don't have a one of the four horsemen, then you must have, you know, at least a Peasy Myers and the skeptic crowd, you know. I just now had this rush of appreciation for the way that Sam Harris and Daniel Dennett go at each other all the time. I really like it when there are panel members, you know, that disagree with each other rather than having an entire block of panel members who will agree with each other, and we know that they will, which is what happened at the Atheist Alliance of America convention. Brother Richard, Tony Penn, Greta Christina, you know, it's like they were all booked to be in that block. You know, then throw on the godless bitches on top of it. They were all booked to be in this block where, you know, having spoken right after Peasy Myers, it was like it was like the people billing the convention didn't want there to be a any sort of the drama problems that they knew that sometimes do come up, because they know there are arguments within the skeptic community, you know, and rather than go for those kind of debate discussions, it was all everyone congratulate each other and pat each other on the back for showing up. Earlier tonight, before I recorded this, I was talking with a few of the employees of the Richard Dawkins Foundation for Reason and Science, and talking with them, that, you know, saying, you know, Thunderfoot's brought up the same Thunderfoot versus Peasy Myers and the Free Thought blog Skeptic Atheism Plus people, you know. And there's a problem here for the RDFers, or the people that actually work for that place, because they sell books by Peasy Myers, right? And then Peasy Myers aligns himself with Skeptic, and then Rebecca Watson has a problem with something that Richard Dawkins says, and these divisions that are happening, they're not, you know, to me it's good to argue and have public discourse, But for people who have book deals, all with the same company, where they're all being distributed through the same web portal, not a good thing. So, when PZ Myers and say Pat Condell, those two, when they're in the Richard Dawkins web store where you can buy their book off the RDF website. It's really weird, in that here on YouTube, Pat Condell and PZ Myers get a lot of criticism that they wouldn't allow on their own websites. They'd block that shit and delete it immediately. But they get videos against them. They get all sorts of comments. They'll set their comments to approval only, and turn their ratings off because they know that they're going to get a lot of criticism. And this isn't just like trolls. It's very dismissive of criticism to say, oh, it's just trolls. These are people that their opinions are beneath where we are anyway. These are some valid fucking criticisms sometimes, most of the time, and they're just not getting through to those certain people. But it's weird because Dawkins doesn't get as much hate from YouTube as PZ Myers or Pat Condell. Not nearly as much. Very, very small fraction. And I think when Dawkins came out and made a comment about Rebecca Watson's, talking about the elevator gate stuff and it being the wrong forum for it, I think he got as much criticism as he really deserved for it. And I wouldn't have. I would have told him as a PR rep to, maybe think about what you're saying, or not say anything in this particular case. But he just doesn't get the same sort of criticism, and I don't think that it's because the trolls like him or anything like that. I think that he holds himself much further beyond reproach most of the time. If you don't want criticism, don't make positive assertions about things that could be wrong, and I don't think that he's revered more than these other people because he's had a position of working for the Queen, spreading science, working at Oxford or all that. No, I think he has that position of respect because he's not spouting bullshit all the time. And if you don't want to be, criticized when you do spread bullshit, then don't spread the fucking bullshit. Anyways, enough of all that Thunderfoot stuff. Because, there are people who will say, how can you agree with Thunderfoot? He's been wrong here, here, and here. You know what? I have videos on my fucking channel where I am very critical of things that Thunderfoot has said. It's just in this one instance that I think he's right. okay? That maybe we do have this element that is attaching itself to atheism that is not in the best interest of atheism right now. As a movement, as it were. But I know in the past, Thunderfoot's whole fucking pendulum video and saying that, a house divided, you know, I want people to take that fucking house divided video and play it to him, criticizing the other giants in the skeptical community right now. You know, and I think Napalm was very close to this as far as a criticism of Thunderfoot, but not exactly what I'm saying. But all I'm really saying there is I don't agree with him all the time, but when he does have a point, I think that we should acknowledge the point that he's making, and if it's a good one, go ahead, go with it, and not have to bring up all of the different things that he's been wrong about. Maybe we can just talk about an issue. Or maybe not. Maybe he was just the fucking wrong person to fucking bring it up. That we can't have a fucking atheist convention without having an entire day dedicated to feminism anymore. So yeah, find me the next atheist convention, be it American Atheists. Find me what was Skepticon 5. Wasn't that the last one? Find me the fucking schedule, and I will fucking highlight what I'm seeing, this pattern that I'm seeing that Thunderfoot is also seeing. Fucking highlight that for you, and then show you on a couple of other flyers from a couple of other events or whatnot. Just this block of speakers that speak at everything. That's the problem that I think he's seeing. Okay? Maybe we just shouldn't have heroes. Because heroes let you down. Hero worship. It's. We vault these people up, and then we get the faults vaulted up there. When we should fucking probably pre-screen. Anyways, last thing I was going to talk about here was I got kicked out of the atheist community of Colorado Springs, and I've told a few people this on Skype and in public, but give you a little backstory. I moved to Colorado Springs around December of 2010, right? So 2 years ago. Then I started going to the Freethinkers of Colorado Springs meetings, Pikes Peak Skeptic Society, the Denver area Atheists and Freethinkers, a couple of other groups, right? Pueblo Humanist Directions, a whole bunch of other smaller groups. And I started filming their events. They'd get speakers. I'd film the speakers, put them on YouTube for everyone to see. And some of these speakers didn't have big names. They weren't big name people. But they were interesting. After a while, everybody started to get to know my name. They knew that if they didn't make a meeting, I'd film it and I would put it up on YouTube and then pass it around Facebook, stuff like that. So, being as active in the community as I was invited to be a board member of the Freethinkers of Colorado Springs, which basically, work wise, as far as the extra effort that I have to put in, meant that I had to show up an hour early to the monthly meeting for the Freethinkers that I already went to, and I could have a little bit more input. And I was already setting up my camera early for these events, so wasn't that hard. The first big moment that I had as a board member of the Freethinkers of Colorado Springs was proposing that instead of having a human light party in December, it's a kind of Unitarian Universalist style, humanist style party, which is basically a Christmas party. Held on the winter solstice, but you have Yule stuff instead of Christmas stuff, and don't tell me that it's a fertility thing and that the tinsel is actually like semen. That's a fucking Christmas tree, you know. And I said, let's shake it up this year. We've got this event, the end of the Mayan calendar, you know. Let's have a party and just celebrate the fact that the people who think that the end of the Mayan calendar means the end of the world are all going to be proven wrong. So we'll plan our party for the day after, which just so happened to be the winter solstice anyway. But rather than have a winter solstice party at all this year, which is a lot more work, right? They've had magicians and Santas for people's kids and stuff. We had a party in a bar. In a pub. But anyways, that was my first big idea that got taken up by them. And I put a lot of work into this thing. I put, so much effort into getting people to show up to this thing. Promoting it all, like, from its inception, I just kept promoting it and promoting it. And the Freethinkers put an ad in the paper. I've had a video of that on my channel. There were radio spots for it. It was a big thing. Held in a restaurant downtown, Jack Quinn's, that pub. T-shirts were made up for it. So yeah, it was a big deal. So before I left for my road trip, I had also done a few things where I tried to mend some bridges that I guess are like unmendable, and one of which was a guy named Rich Breidenbach, who was the president of the Freethinkers of Colorado Springs when I first started going, but he just didn't show up to any of the meetings because he didn't like the direction they were going. I don't know. He had decided to leave the Freethinkers of Colorado Springs due to personal differences between him and some of the other board members. And he decided to take with him the meetup group, which was actually in his name. Now, this meetup group said Freethinkers of Colorado Springs in it when a whole bunch of people joined it. And when people in the Freethinkers of Colorado Springs, which is a very old organization, when they spend money on something like registration fees for Meetup, which is about $60 every 6 months, you know, they get reimbursed. You know, I've seen a lot of reimbursements go out, and him being the president, I'm pretty sure he was reimbursed for this expense. I haven't gotten the receipt, but if it came down to people holding me to this charge, I would actually look at all of the expenditures. But at any rate, people joined this meetup group because it was the Freethinkers of Colorado Springs, not just because he was running it, because he went ahead and set it up. That was part of his duties as the Freethinkers. It's one of those things where sometimes you work for a company, and if some new idea happens because of your work, it's in the contract. It says you can't patent it because you're working for the company. This was a website where the membership in it was built on the name of the Freethinkers of Colorado Springs, right? And everything that they do. He takes it and he changes the name, and there were emails sent out by a lot of people yelling about, rah, 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 I don't like you, I don't like you. But he took this group and changed the name. It got changed to the Atheist Community of Colorado Springs, which then forced the Freethinkers of Colorado Springs to have to start a new meetup group and find a way to tell everyone, hey, that new group, or that old group that you are still a part of, that's not us anymore. And a couple months went by, and the ACCS group had done nothing more than just go on a bunch of hikes where I don't know that a lot of people went, but Rich, he liked to go on hiking trips. He still does. Like, every 2 weeks they have hikes. Not my thing, but okay. There was a meeting posted in the ACCS group where I decided to go to that meeting and talk with them, such that I didn't like the divisiveness that a new group had started up, and it seemed like they were scheduling meetings to be in opposition to the meetings of both the Freethinkers of Colorado Springs and the Pikes Peak Skeptic Society, which are two pretty distinct groups. There's a little bit of overlay. I'm one of them. But they're pretty distinct. Okay? Two distinct groups of friends. But when one of my objections was that the Pikes Peak Skeptic Society had drinking skeptically, which was something that would happen once a month. And so ACCS came up with the idea of having drinking without deities, which is their thing that was happening once a month. They nicked the idea. Potlucks nicked the idea. A whole bunch of other things that they were doing. But also, some of the things that they did were at the last minute scheduled to be right at the exact same time as something else that was happening. Like, there was a movie night last week. This was the 21st, actually. On the 21st, there was a movie night that was at Nick J's house. He's part of the Pikes Peak Skeptic Society, and the ACCS group, at the last minute threw together a party to have it at the exact same time. and that was their winter solstice party. But it, you would have to yourself go to the meetup.com stuff and join all these groups to see that the overlay is there. And after I brought it up to them, that it looked pretty obvious that there was vindictive scheduling going on between things, like their hikes happening every 2 weeks happen just so happened to happen at the same 2 week interval as Pikes Peak Skeptic Society's Secular Sundays brunch. Sunday morning, 9 o'clock, without fail. Just so happened to happen at the exact same time. Anyways, I was asked by Michael Fournier, who was either the vice president or the president of ACCS. Can't really tell how much Rich had to do with it at what time, but after having that talk at one of their meetings that I went to in order to try to mend bridges between the younger generation, because all these silver-haired people are fighting, and I got this message from Michael Fournier asking me if I would have a problem with ACCS, the Atheist Community of Colorado Springs, having their own Mayan calendar survivor party, because there were members of them who didn't want to see Becky and Gary. If you don't know who Becky and Gary are, Gary runs Evolve Fish. They're like the co-owners of it, the company Evolve Fish, and also Becky is the president of the American Humanist Association right now. She was the vice president in some of the videos that I have on my channel, but now she is the president, and she was the president of the Freethinkers of Colorado Springs. She stepped down. Groff is now the president, and I am the vice president of the Freethinkers of Colorado Springs. This just happened that was December 11th that I became the vice president, and Becky stepped down and went off to do greater things, and Groff stepped up to be the president. So anyways, this was before I left for my road trip. I get this text message from Michael Fournier, and he's asking, would you mind if we have our party? With the exact same theme as yours, except for we don't want Becky and Gary. So I told him, yeah, I mind. I would mind. After having this discussion about having similarly themed things, stealing the ideas of other groups, and also, doing them at the same times in order to, draw members from what they are doing, draw attention from what they're doing and putting it on their group. After having this discussion before, I told him, yes, I'm going to mind. I've worked hard to promote this thing. We've got ads in the newspaper, ads on the radio, and fuck it, everyone is invited to my party. You are, everyone else, invited. Okay? Nobody is disinvited from mine. And his response to me was, only in text format, so I can't really tell you how he was feeling, but his response was like I shouldn't have even said, yes, I'm going to have a problem. Like, him asking, would you mind, was all that he needed to do for me to say, no, I don't mind. I'll just bend over backwards and let you fuck me in the ass. After I put all this hard work into making this party happen. And you guys can see the video, Mayan Calendar Survivors Party, on my fucking website, a lot of people showed up to that party and had a great time, you know. And in the time that ACCS has been in existence, they have not done anything to rival the size and scope of my party, okay? And magnanimously, I hope that they do good things, and they do one day find some idea that gets them, a draw of a crowd as big as my party was. But I don't see it happening. Okay? So I had a great party. People were congratulating me for, becoming the vice president and all that. But then it was time for me to get back in the swing of things, and I decided that I was going to write my article for my column like I have done, week after week, just writing the week ahead for the freethinkers in my city, and hardly ever anybody ever reads this column. Okay, I just do it. It's what I do. As I'm doing it, I check a link, and the link's not working right. Instead of giving me the link to the event, it's giving me the link to the meetup for ACCS proper. And I wasn't really thinking about it at the time. Why is that? Why are their links not working right for me? But I was also doing some other work. Some of it was research on the Freethinkers of Colorado Springs having a float in the St. Patrick's Day Parade. And I decided to text to Mr. Fournier, who hadn't texted or talked to me at all. I decided to text to him after I tried to ring him and couldn't get him on the phone, so I just decided to text him. Hey, if you guys decided that you wanted to have a float in the same St. Patrick's Day Parade as us, that's one of those things that I would not mind. Because what I have in my mind for my float would be, 3 people max inside the truck waving out of windows, and maybe 8 people on the actual float, which would be like a 14-foot trailer, with the float built onto it. And so that's 11 people. The party that I just had, at one time it had 60, 70 people packed into the room, and then the people who were in the party kept on switching out, like different people were in the party. So I have no idea really the actual head count of my party, but that's a lot bigger than 11 max. So if I can only have 11 max people of the skeptics in my city participating in my float, of course I don't mind if they have another float. So I was trying to get a hold of him to say, hey, I'm pulling, or my plan is to pull a giant green happy human behind my truck. And if you guys pulled a giant red out atheist A, or, a atomic symbol, atheist symbol, whatever, whatever you wanted to do, fine by me. There's enough room for this, And I thought it was important for me to tell them when we would and would not have a problem with them nicking our ideas or trying to get people to not come to our things by going to their things. I thought it would be a good idea to tell them. So I sent those messages off, and about an hour later, I'm working on my article for my column, and I'm like, why is this link not working? This is pretty fucking weird. Like, all of the other links for all the other meetup events are working. Why is this not working? I click on it, and then I scroll down, and I find out that the reason why the link wasn't working was I had been kicked out of the membership of the Atheist Community of Colorado Springs meetup group, which used to be the Freethinkers of Colorado Springs meetup group before they took it and renamed it after it had been built by the Freethinkers of Colorado Springs. Mind you, about 2 months ago, I went around to every meetup group in my entire state. And I had a list of all the different meetup groups. Okay? And I decided to try to post as an actual meetup meeting a suggestion that everyone join everybody else's meetup group, and basically just cut and pasted and put in the details for that meeting, all the links, so that everyone could join everything. So Freethinkers of Colorado Springs shot up in membership, and so did ACCS. The new ACCS group, I had them as part of my list very magnanimously. Because I'm thinking, after the silver-haired people pass away, maybe, their fights might not be able to be solved. Maybe we can just out-fucking-live them. And when we do, at the end, as long as we haven't, pissed each other off, we can all get along, and have co-promoted things. So, when the old Freethinkers of Colorado Springs meetup was stolen, and I'm going to say stolen and repurposed, it had about 250 members. And now it's got about 300. And this guy, Michael Fournier, probably thinks that his doings have something to do with that rise in membership. And still doesn't realize that he's got no draw power. And I can look down what their meetups are. Okay? And I'll show you guys this. This is something that you have to see. Okay. So, here's where it says, you are prohibited by the organizer from joining this meetup group. That being the organizer right there. Right? But I can still scroll down and see what they've got planned in the future, okay? They've got a New Year's Eve party where they had 4 people show up. Guess what? I just went to the Pikes Peak Skeptic Society, and there were 20 people in Nick's house. So, can't outdraw them still. Let's see. We've got hikes. And this one right here, Drinking Without Deities, theme ripped off from Drinking Skeptically. And here's an actual original thing that they do. They play Dungeons and Dragons. Pathfinder is like the latest version of Dungeons and Dragons. So yeah, not really getting a lot of people to show up, or at least say that they're showing up. Now, by contrast, I want to show you in the group that I'm not kicked out of, the one that I actually am an organizer for. We'll go to the past meetups right here. You can go in and actually edit this number, but just by the number of people that did show up in the video. I mean, I've got video evidence of how many people show up to my shit. Right? So we've got 60 that they put there, but here's, all of these people confirmed they were there. They were in the video, and more. just showing you that. But coming up, I just want you to see this because it's pretty cool. Okay, just the white elephant gift exchange. I've got 10 confirmed so far. All right, I just scheduled this meeting for the 17th, right before I started filming. But here we've got Dawkins, Richard Dawkins, Catherine Stewart, Sean Faircloth, and Eric Cernyar, okay? And they're going to be talking about child evangelism and stuff like that. We've got 23 attending here on the meetup group, but it's going to grow. It will grow huge, right? So, this is what I'm saying. I especially I hope that Michael Fournier is watching when I say this. I hope kicking me out of the group somehow magically gives him drawing power so that he can do things as big as we're doing them. Good things. You know? I don't see it happening. You know? But bring it. You know? If you think kicking me out was a good thing, prove me wrong. But I guess I am no longer a member of the atheist community of Colorado Springs. Even though for 50 miles around, I am the biggest atheist YouTuber. You know? All of the events that built the meetup group that he's using to promote his stuff now, all of those events were filmed and put on my YouTube channel. You know? I know I risk sounding like I have a really big head here, but I'm not the only person that has been kicked from that meetup group. Okay? Becky was kicked. Before I was, Becky was. Becky is now the president of the American Humanist Association, the national group. Look it the fuck up. It's big. And Becky and Gary together, very big philanthropists. They use their business, Evolve Fish, to help out groups all over the country. Okay? I was just talking with Shara and Daniel, the Barking Atheist, you know, from the Dogma Debate podcast. And, you know, they had been in contact with them, like, completely. They were already, like, 1 degree of separation away with me being friends with all of them. But they had been talking with each other, and some of the employees of Evolve Fish are thinking about going out to Texas for a couple of the conventions there, and they're going to meet up with Cher and Daniel. And I know all these people, you know, and, you know, how many people that go on to greatness is this guy, is this new group going to push out, you know? I might just taste a little bit of greatness in what I do for the atheist movement as a whole and the community in my city. But you know what? That little bit is outpacing what Michael Fournier is doing with the atheist community of Colorado Springs. You know? The Freethinkers of Colorado Springs, that name, is pretty unique. You know? And they built it. It's pretty obvious to me that by calling it the atheist community of Colorado Springs, they're nicking the atheist community of Austin. Okay? Because they can't build shit on their own. also, like the Occupy movement, there's no parent organization that can tell them, no, you can't call yourself, Atheist Community of Colorado Springs, you know? And for them, that's a good thing because I don't think any parent organization would like some of the tactics that they've used to create their group in the first fucking place, such as stealing the membership of another group's meetup group. Conversely, Freethinkers of Colorado Springs, they are members of COCOR, the Colorado Coalition of Reason, which basically has all the other free-thinking, secular atheist groups as members of it, except for Atheist Community of Colorado Springs, because they're not seen as a valid entity for membership in COCOR, which is only a Colorado-wide thing. 30 different organizations come together under one umbrella, but there's one that still hasn't made it in because they aren't, they aren't cut from the right cloth, in my opinion. They're going to have a rough go at it if they're going to be proving me wrong, and they're going to be hosting events with the large scale that the rest of us are. And if they're going to be actually pulling people together then rather than be divisive, they've got a long, long road ahead of them. And best of luck without me.